Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is Kristen with Monarch Plans, and today I'm going to be doing my budget check-in for the first 2 weeks of June, and I will also be talking a little bit about May and my results from May. So I guess first I will start out with May. So I'm not necessarily going over my specific results, and I know I mentioned in prior videos that I would be going through and talking about like my ending results, I guess, from May. But what ended up happening is May was a bit confusing. So I opened my Etsy shop at the end of May, and that involved a lot of setting up of essentially Monarch plans. I had to buy equipment, I had to buy supplies, everything like that. So I feel like my expenses and my finances in May were very thrown off by that. I learned very quickly that I needed to get a separate bank account for my Monarch plans stuff, my Etsy stuff. So I went ahead and did that. So that is now that's happening in June. So things should be a little bit more clear. But for May, it was just a little bit confusing to calculate things because I was spending more money than I thought I would. And then I don't know. It was just very, very hard. It was very confusing to come up with like a final result when there was a lot of spending going on that I don't particularly want to share. I'm trying to keep my business stuff relatively private. So May was a little bit special. As I got to the end of the month, I was realizing maybe some of the things I was keeping track of in my budget, my written budget, wasn't really working as well as I thought it would. As a lot of you know, I kind of revamped my budget process about a month and a half ago or like 2 months ago. And so I think every time you revamp your budget, you learn things that work and things that don't. So I'm still in that process of determining what's going to work and what isn't. And I realized May as a month didn't work out too well. So June will be a little bit different. As I mentioned, I have a separate bank account now for Monarch Plan stuff. I'm tracking my a bank account I have with my fiance a little bit differently. And I don't know if I'll get into that too much in terms of like how everything is set up, but I'm just tracking things a little bit differently this month to see how it works out. So that is why I'm not going into May as much as maybe you think I should, or like I said I would, but I will be going into June. I'll be going over the first 2 weeks. And part of that is I apologize for not getting out videos over the past couple of weeks, but mainly I've been focusing on like reading and listening and educating myself more on like the Black Lives Matter stuff. So I've been putting out a video every week, my plan with me on Saturdays, but I didn't really want to spend a whole lot of time creating my own content when there's something what I feel is a little bit more important that I could be doing with my time. So I will be on a more consistent schedule now. Hopefully going forward, so you'll see more budget check-ins from me and everything like that. But let's just get started. I know that was a little bit of a long introduction, but this is just my calendar for June. And if you are new to my channel, I'll just quickly go over this. So this is just an overarching calendar. It doesn't have all of my due dates on it, but just kind of the bigger bills that I need to pay. The yellow are credit card payments. The green are car related, so they're car payments or insurance payments. And the purple ones are utilities. So that's what I keep track of on here. I have my little dollar signs represent our paydays. So I get paid on Thursdays. My fiance gets paid on Fridays. And then now I get paid from Etsy every Monday is how I have it set up. So that is in general how I have this page set up. I have this section down here on the sidebar to write down how much I pay towards debt every single month. So as I make these payments, I'm filling them in the payment like section of the label. But if I'm able to make any additional payments, I will then sum everything up and put it in here at the end of the month. So that is what this is. It's just kind of an at a glance how much I'm spending on debt payments. I'm working really hard on paying this credit card down. I think I might just do like a lump sum at the end of the month and be done with it. I bought some equipment for Monarch Plans. I had to buy just like a printer. My printer just totally took a bomb right before I opened my shop. So I bought a new printer and some other supplies, and I just paid that off immediately after buying my stuff. And other than that, this is a pretty normal month. There's not a whole lot else going on, so this just keeps me on track. So let's move on to the actual budget and the weekly check-in. So as I mentioned before, I don't put my income in here. That's just something I'm keeping a little bit private. So I will fill that out at the end of the month, but I do have all my expenses in here. I have my fixed expenses on this side, my variable expenses on this side. I'm keeping a couple of these blank because our gym's open. These are our gyms. Our gym's open, but I don't quite know if they're charging us for the full month. I don't know what's going on with those just because they weren't charging us for a while. So I know how much those usually are, but I don't want to write them in. I have all of our variable expenses over here, like I mentioned. And then this line denotes anything below it here are mainly my fiance's expenses. So he'll usually be the person to take out cash. I don't usually take out cash. He has some hobby spending that he usually does, and then any like dining out he does for lunches or snacks or anything. So that's getting tracked a little bit differently than it has in the past because he spends money out of an account that we share versus most of this other stuff is from an account that's just mine. So that's kind of how things are going to be a little bit different. And then I have these down here that'll get filled out at the end of the month. So let me go over my check-ins for the first 2 weeks of June. So week 1, everything was pretty normal, but we ate at restaurants and got fast food so much that first week of June. I don't know what it is. I didn't feel like cooking. I wasn't meal planning very well. I just like completely failed, and we ate out so many times. That's a lot for us, $93. And I know I've mentioned in prior budget check-ins that like we have an issue with eating, you know, food, fast food, takeout food, everything like that. It's something we've been working on, but all of my like goals just got thrown to the wayside for some reason. So in that first week, we pretty much blew our dining out budget. And then the second week came along and we didn't buy any groceries. I spent $10, I think, buying like 2 things at Target for groceries. But then we completely blew our dining out budget again. Like, I don't know what happened to us. But we have spent so much money on food. Like, I am just blown away. I was calculating everything and I was like, this is embarrassing. So that being said, week 3 probably didn't look much better, honestly. We'll have to see. But I am planning out our meals way more now. So hopefully things change a little bit. But guys, this is just, it just goes to show that nobody is perfect when it comes to their budget. And I think a lot of people that show their budget online and film videos and do check-ins, like the people I've seen, they usually are so well behaved with their budget. And it makes me feel like I maybe am not very good with my finances when I keep watching these videos and they're just like perfectly on budget. Hopefully this goes to show that there are people that struggle, like honestly. Dining out is just one of those categories where we constantly go over, and it's something in the back of my mind and I'm always trying to change it, but just sometimes it just doesn't happen. So hopefully you feel a little bit better that there are other people out there that maybe struggle. So let's move on from that topic because it is very depressing. We're doing great with groceries. Allowance is fine. I just bought a couple things. The unbudgeted spending I did was I bought a Black Lives Matter t-shirt, and then I bought something else, I think from Etsy, to do a little project for one of my friends. So that was just a little bit of unbudgeted spending, but not a whole lot. So really, we've done pretty good in the first couple weeks of the month, other than dining out. So that being said, I haven't even put in a number for budgeted, because before I could even like set up my June budget, we were already like $100 over. So I haven't even put a budgeted number in. I don't know if I will. I don't know if I'm just going to let everything fall the way it falls and fill it in later. I don't know at this point, but I do know that I am over budget in my own head. So there is that. I don't know. There's really not a whole lot else to say. We're not doing well with dining out. I think that is it. This next page, I keep track of our sinking funds. I did deposit money into our sinking funds in the first week of the month. I didn't deposit anything in the second week of the month. I will be doing more the third week, so on and so forth. But ultimately, I think we're in good shape with our different sinking fund categories. I think the one category that I did have to add some money to was this auto. It's our auto maintenance. My fiance just had some things he needed to fix on one of his cars. He had to work on the brakes on his truck. So I didn't have a whole lot of money in there, obviously, at the beginning of the month, and that just happened like within the first week of the month. So I just added money to the sinking fund. The other thing that happened in the first couple weeks was I just bought some medicine. It was like $6. So that's the only transaction we've had so far for our sinking funds, which I think is really great. I think a lot of times I'll usually have spent some money from like self-care and beauty or clothing, that sort of thing. So, so far we're on really good track with our sinking funds. And then over here is where I detail like our spending that I'm trying to keep track of. So that's like dining out, unbudgeted, allowance. It's where I just kind of detail everything so I can see where we could cut back. Because our dining out was so extensive, like our transactions were crazy, and it's a little bit depressing to know that we've eaten out that many times. I combined them into two lines. So this is for the first week of the month. This is for the second week. I just did totals. That's how I'm just gonna do it right now. I don't want to dive in any deeper than that. We have our unbudgeted spending. As I mentioned, I bought a Black Lives Matter shirt and an SVG file for a friend. And then allowance, I had a couple of things from Erin Condren. I tried out Afterpay. I'd never tried it out before. I always just buy my stuff full out. I don't use like Afterpay or anything like that. But I want to try it because I didn't really know what it was. So I tried it, and I just paid everything off on the 10th. And then the other couple things for my allowance is I bought some materials to help me keep track of my budget a little better. So I have this written budget, but, and this is like kind of my nice record, but I do have now a couple of sheets. It was like a digital download that will help me keep track of things. Just like more personal, I'm able to put all my information on there. It's, has a lot of calculations on it, all that stuff like that. So that was that. I spent quite a bit on like a digital download. So that is what this allowance or these allowance transactions are. So that is it for the first 2 weeks of June. And I mean, when it comes down to it, we're doing really good on like our unbudgeted spending is low. My allowance spending is under budget. We haven't gotten anything with our sinking funds. I have my separate bank account for Etsy now. I mean, we did spend a ton on dining out, but in the scheme of things, like I don't think it's really derailing us from anything. So that's one thing to keep in mind. I'm trying to tell myself that to hopefully make myself feel a little bit better. But, like I said, hopefully that's just kind of reassurance to everybody that you don't have to be absolutely perfect with your budget. I mean, we obviously have goals. I'm trying to pay down debt. I'm trying to do things with my money, but there are just some months where you might have a hard couple weeks and you just get right back on it. And like I said, I'm now meal planning a lot better. I grocery shopped for all of our food for the upcoming week. I know exactly what we're eating. And because of that, I'm not going to allow us to, dine out this upcoming week. So, might be a couple weeks of hard stuff, but you'll get back on the horse and improve. So I think that is it. I know that was pretty quick, and I had everything already pre-written just because I knew I had 2 weeks to go over. I had to talk about May, so this wasn't necessarily a typical check-in, but hopefully that was okay. If you have any questions or anything, please feel free to reach out. You can leave a comment below, or you can find me on Instagram. I'm at monarch_plans. I'll have some links down below, specifically to the software I use to keep track of my budget. So I have my written budget, and then I have budget on an app. So I will have the link to that in case you're interested, or if you've seen my previous videos where I talk about it. So yeah, I hope you found this helpful. Hopefully you were able to relate a little bit to some of my struggles. But I hope you have a great week, and I will talk to you next week when I do my next budget check-in. Okay, I will talk to you later. Bye.